Spooky month, the time of year where the ghosts, ghouls, and goblins that go bump in the night come out in the open. The time when everything starts to be scary and you see all the decorations and skeletons and horrifying things and all the Halloween specials, and also the candy and the cute costumes and a bunch of other fun stuff. You also start to see an uptick in content creators making scary top 10s and stuff like that. That is a fun thing to always witness, because I avoid the horror genre like the plague. It usually is not my cup of tea, honestly. I'm just kind of very easily frightened, and yeah. Anyway, when you hear horror game, what comes to mind? The undead? A dark, spooky atmosphere? How about unbeatable enemies you have to run from because your weapons are ineffective? A time crunch to just barely escape death? Or maybe you're more interested in psychological horror, like jump scares and turning childhood toys into creepy caricatures out to get you. Maybe a game doesn't need any of these to inspire fear in you. Maybe you just need someplace high or unfathomable deep water that hides your nightmares within. Yes, the things that go bump in the night are numerous and diverse. Almost as diverse as the Nintendo 64 library. The Nintendo 64 is a fun little device, isn't it? There's certainly plenty of nostalgia baked into that little black, or in some cases translucent green, box. Cozy adventures with your favorite mascots from your favorite childhood company. But over the years, that same nostalgia has become a weapon against us. Whether it's the Mario iceberg, some creepypasta about that statue in Majora's Mask, or something else that has come up to cast a shadow on those pleasant memories that might make you ask yourself if you really played the same game you remember. The Nintendo 64's legacy is becoming one of mystery and intrigue. It's not a secret that most games back then had the occasional scary bit here and there to build suspense or break the flow. Examples I can immediately recall are Big Boo's Haunt in Mario 64, Mad Monster Mansion in Banjo-Kazooie. Heck, there's a whole chapter in Paper Mario where you're in a haunted forest with a ghost-filled mansion in the Boos. Saving the Boos, actually. It's always fun when Mario teams up with Bowser's minions, but, anyway. There was also Creepy Castle in Donkey Kong 64, and Fungi Forest at night. Crystal Caves is also a thrilling level when that Kosha would start making stony death rain down from above. And that Spooky Factory level with the rejected Jack-in-the-Box and the deep soul-crushing depths of that water level. You can probably see where I'm going with this. Over the years, Donkey Kong 64 has earned a reputation of infamy by completionists who seem to think that they need to collect literally everything, when all you need are enough golden bananas to open a gate and then enough bananas to make a hippo fat enough to push a pig to a key. Everything else is completely optional, and you have the freedom to collect whatever you want to and ignore a large chunk of it. That said, when you're not focused on getting everything and the soul-crushing amount of stuff to get, you start to see the game as a game rather than a chore. And that's when you start to notice something's amiss. Once the tunnel vision is gone, you start to see the level design, the atmosphere, the things that go bump that you disregarded in your pursuit of completion. And even if you already noticed some of it, your single-minded pursuit of the next shiny MacGuffin and the rage at some of the later stages of the game was enough to let you ignore it. Once you peel away the surface of this cutesy game about monkeys collecting bananas, you get its true identity. Donkey Kong 64 is a horror game to its very core.
Those words, is it possible to use them in a sentence together like that?
Now, I know what you are thinking here, and I can assure you I'm not crazy. So sit back, relax, and comment why I'm wrong before you've even heard my explanation. Show of hands, how many people dream in Rareware? Like the video if you do. The vast majority of my dreams take place in a spectacular open-world Rare platformer, and a lot of them are nightmares that end with fighting the goddamn Jack-in-a-Box from Frantic Factory. Or climbing that epic moody haunted castle. Bottom line, the game has impacted me so deeply in such a creepy way that when I played DK64 randomized with max settings and decoupled entrances, which was stupid to play that in my first attempt, it actually made me feel so unnerved I felt nauseated. Tangent aside, subscribe to catch me streaming almost daily. Okay, with the obligatory plug out of the way, you're still probably shaking your head and think I'm crazy when I say those words in that order. But yes, it is indeed a horror game. Every level, even the hub, has something creepy. Even the premise of the game is creepy. For starters, King K. Rool literally crash lands a death ray on the shores of DK Isle while kidnapping all of your friends, and now you're certainly doomed, and that's looming over you the entire game. And K. Rool has clearly lost his marbles after being defeated so many times. So, having a looming death laser in the hub world at all times is totally par for the course for a lighthearted collectathon, right? That's just how it starts. That same death laser is a part of the hub world, containing 3 of the main levels, and if the giant crocodile-shaped ship wasn't ominous enough on its own, for some reason it had to have a perpetual thunderstorm on it. You come here at least 8 times throughout your quest to stop K. Rool, and each time is still dark and moody. But rain isn't exactly creepy by itself, is it? How about rain in a bright, sunny jungle? Jungle Japes is a Donkey Kong staple. At the time of DK64, it was his Green Hill zone of sorts. In this stage, there's several caves to wander with basic cave features and cave music. Several of these caves are connected and have several collectibles and enemies. Here you rescue Diddy, Kong, and that unlocks the caves. So you're now able to explore the level, and what awaits you at the end of the central tunnel? A dark, stormy, perpetually nighttime clearing with giant beavers and its own dark rendition of the theme. But that's just one of several parts of this jungle level that might give you the willies. There's also the minecart level, which is more exciting than scary, honestly, very thrilling. And the weird buried shrine with a flaming gargoyle statue that needs its eyes shot to get a golden banana. Speaking of shrines, the next level has several. Arguably the least scary level atmospherically, the desert stage of this game is basically 2 big rooms with some buildings in them connected by tunnels. It's not exactly the most ominous stage, and although the level is more benign, it still holds a few dark secrets. While not really secrets, and not even exclusive to the level. This sounded better on paper.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Anyway, to keep it brief, how are you with heights? Because this level is where you learn how to traumatize Donkey Kong with the barrel sections, since the last levels was optional and likely missed. It also introduces claptraps to have jaws that chase you after you kill them, with a little esophagus dangling from them. Because yes, we totally needed that in a kid's platformer game. There's also a few temples to delve into with each Kong, and while none of them are particularly eerie, one has the potential to give you quite a fright. Enter this temple and make your way to the banana, navigating the corridors, shooting the switches, and there's your prize. You grab it and... Get out! Are you sure this isn't a DK.exe ROM hack? Yeah, that cold sweat and jump scare as a reticle and countdown to escape the long maze of tunnels in time or get shot definitely gave a lot of people nightmares. That's really all that this stage has to offer, unlike the next stage, which gives Banjo-Tooie level design a run for its money. Frantic Factory, one of a match set of 2 stages you get from beating Dogadon. This is the first level that I'd classify as purely belonging in horror. An eerie labyrinthine toy factory where everything is trying to kill you. You're greeted in the entrance of the level by these invincible wind-up Kremling robots with red eyes. They make eerie noises as they approach and can only be dispatched by explosives. But only until they respawn, like every other enemy in this game. Going further into the stage, the level design isn't creepy per se, it's atmospheric. Dark metallic corridors make sense considering the entrance to this level is inside K. Rool's ship. As you explore deeper, you learn there's several floors to the factory. Of note to this video, you have the very tall manufacturing floor with the epic-sounding remix of the level theme, with a lot of high-up platforming challenges that can invoke a fear of heights if you have it. The R&D floor with a very digital-sounding remix of the theme, which has a bunch of Kong-specific doors with interesting challenges in it. Of note for this one is the toy box Chunky has to punch. And the main floors, like the lobby. The real show stealer of the level, however, is the theme. The minimalist composition by Grant Kirkhope is responsible for turning the metallic hallways and piles of toys into the eerie horror it is. The music box leads the piece, eerily winding up as the first sound you hear upon entering the stage. And throughout the piece, every time it returns, it's wound up. Every time except for the one right before the piece loops. The box comes to life spontaneously, playing the motif of the song. And whether you realize it or not, when it does that, you subconsciously notice, and it puts you slightly on edge. Brilliant composition by a brilliant Brit who gave us a DK rap. Now, you've made it through the level, you've gotten all your bananas, you gave the hippo diabetes, and now Tiny Kong's face is on the boss door. So you enter the room. And it's like a disco floor, blue and white lights flashing in neat patterns, and as you approach, a single platform stays lit, inviting you to step on it. Suddenly the lights rise as pillars, and out of a chute in the ceiling drops a jack-in-the-box. It hops over to you, octuples in size, and a freaky Donald Duck-voiced gator with dreads and a piercing red eye pops up and roars at you. Now you're being chased by the box as it tries to smash you, forcing you to jump pillar to pillar over a bottomless abyss until it stops and tries throwing fireballs at you while you scramble to find a button with the corresponding color to the platform he's on. At first, it's lit up, but after a few times, it is dark like the rest of the not recently landed on platforms. And Mad Jack will also start shooting lasers where you're about to land that essentially nuke the platform. If said platform has the button on it, you might not make it in time. And for Phase 3, he decides to turn invisible. You only have the sparkles and lit platform telling you where the now sped-up invisible psychotic killer Jack-in-the-Box is as he pursues you. The fight is honestly one of the coolest and most terrifying boss fights in gaming history ever, mechanically, let alone for the N64. Unfortunately, can't say the same about the next one, as we still have another key to get before we get the next level. If Thalassophobia had a physical form in a Donkey Kong game, this would be it. Like Angry Aztec, it's not inherently creepy, but it barely edges it out to being a massive deep water level. This one, aside from the obvious deep water, has a sunken ship segment complete with darkness and the side order of pirate skeletons all over the place, actual human pirate skeletons, and a giant mechanical fish. The boss arena is similarly atmospheric. You fight a giant pufferfish that breathes fire, because everything breathes fire in this game, at night in a dark, stormy coconut boat, but it's still rather an uninspired design for a boss fight. You're just circling the boss, going through these star rings and activating pillars that zap it. You don't even attack the boss. It turns into bullet hell. Yeah. And the ship in the lighthouse might count, but the beautiful design of the depths makes the creepiness melt away just a little. Fun fact about the giant mechanical hellfish whose heart you have to destroy, you can't do that if you get the sniper scope, so you might want to do it on your first visit to the level as opposed to later. The next level is Fungi Forest. It looks pretty unassuming at first glance. A picturesque forest full of giant bouncy mushrooms, and a big cuckoo clock in the central room, some unassuming cabin with a water wheel, a thorn maze, another rainy area with invincible killer tomatoes, a haunted castle minecart ride in a well, a giant mushroom with a climbing section. Oh, and the gimmick of the stage is the clock. You can change the bright, sunny, cheery forest to the dark, creepy woods and open up some sections of the level previously blocked by a moon gate, including one that leads to a giant spider boss, ironically fought by the same Kong who fought the Jack-in-the-Box earlier. Why is the youngest one being put in the scary situation so much? The level also introduces skeleton crumblings that can take multiple hits, losing their skull and still proceeding to swing their bones at you. Speaking of swinging, remember Gloomy Galleon? I neglected to mention the Kausha enemies. Kasha, I never could figure out how it was pronounced. They don't ever say it in the game. They have always been cute to me with their tiny body and helmets with the spike clubs like 3 times their size, just comically being carried. They're like little kobolds. So adorable, in my opinion. And they have this cute little high-pitched voice, and it just... you can play baseball with them. Wait, what was I talking about? Oh, right. For some reason, beating Dogadon unlocks 2 levels again. This time, you got the lovely pair of Crystal Caves and Creepy Castle. Crystal Caves, this level, that music. Listen to how relaxing it is. That crystal theming, it's a peaceful ice cave. The areas are all samey. It's got some castle, igloos, a bunch of really cool rock spires, and... That thing, every few seconds, will start smacking his club, changing the music and causing rocks to fall on you. The mood whiplash can jump scare and unnerve you. Speaking of jump scaring, in the creepy decrepit cabin you can... Get out! And the beauty of this level hides some spinning spike mazes and a bunch of other dangerous obstacles that wouldn't be out of place in a Resident Evil game. But the biggest thing that makes this level scary is the stupid giant Kosha. Sure, you can kill him and stop the rockfall, but that requires exploring enough to find him. And getting to him is super tricky. You need to move a boulder, and you need to go to a monkey port pad. And another thing about the Kosha, the one creepy thing about them, when they die, they drop their club, crushing their head. The bosses of this pair of levels were rematches of the first 2 bosses, but aside from some new weapons and a deathmatch slowly sinking into lava with a pissed-off dragonfly, nothing too fancy or frightening. Is K. Rool running out of bosses to throw at us? The next level says yes. Now, if you remember, in this pair of levels, we just blew up a barrel cannon that was hiding inside that inconspicuous rock that's been bothering you next to K. Rool's ship. You know, the one that seems to be the source of the perpetual thunderstorm. Well, this is the way to get to the entrance to the next level. Once you get shot into the sky by this thing, you're going to wind up in the most atmospheric part of DK Isles, the Creepy Castle lobby. There's Koshas, an acid moat, a lovely aesthetic of creepy castle-y vibes, and once you get into the level proper, it begins... You're entering the actual literal horror level Creepy Castle. It's a horror level because it's definitely got the skeletons and ghosts going for it. It's got the creepy atmosphere, the full moon, and it's got the crazy greenhouse with the... Get out! This level is not for the faint of heart regarding acrophobia because you are going up a very tall castle and one slip could send you plummeting to your doom. There's conveniently also underground sections like this weird well that you find inside of a tree, and then you also got inside the castle like some ballrooms and then this weird pillar that no one knows the purpose of. That must have been for Stop and Swap or something, but no one seems to know the purpose of it, and it's baffling gamers to this very day. And it just, why has no one ever figured out what it does? Is there nothing in the code? There's no source to figure out what it does. And on top of all that, you also have this little crypt section with skeletons embedded into the walls, and it's very just disturbing. So, in this level, you also need to get 400 bananas for your favorite gluttonous hippo and pig duo, and the pig has nipple piercings, by the way. Seriously, I know whoever wrote them in knew what they were doing, knowing look. The scariest minecart section of the game is also here, complete with giant undead ghost gator chase sequence. Tell me how, other than not experiencing this, did it not traumatize you? Maybe because the boss is literally a cardboard cutout of K. Rool that the Kremlings threw together after running out of actual bosses. The fight is unnerving and you can lose Kongs, but it's also rather humorous, and after beating King Cutout, the Kremlings literally run away and throw the key at you. After such an intense game, such an intense video full of such scary things, enjoy this little palate cleanse. Donkey Kong 64 touches upon all of the things I mentioned at the beginning, from the unfathomable deep water, the horribly high heights, the weird toys coming to life motif for some reason, but crazy, creepy Jack in the Box. To cut a long story short, this is why DK64 is a horror game. I'm sure you're seeing the game in a different light than when I first said that, and if not, tell me why in the comments. I grew up with the game, and I always avoided the latter half of the game because it just got too scary for me, and it always seemed like I'd reach those levels at night. And while games like Luigi's Mansion wear their horror on their sleeves, you can't argue against the fact that DK64, beyond the initial banana peel, is hiding some pretty creepy stuff. This was my first big scripted production, and while writing it, I kept reading it and rabid Luigi's voice in my head. Put some real effort in and would love some feedback in the comments. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and maybe I can make more like it in the future. Who knows? If it gets enough support and attention, I will definitely be there to take advantage of that. Yeah, so don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more. See you next time.
Get out!